Very flat looking flyer, but can you tell us what it really is?
Oh my, okay. When you put the
Do
phone
you
on
remember
it.
what it's called?
Oh, artificial, no.
Augmented.
Reality.
It's called
Augmented reality. So it requires skills of understanding computer-aided design. How many of you use any kind of CAD software? Which one do you use? Inventor. Okay, that's a very common one, a very expensive one as well. But there are many different CAD programs or softwares that are out there, and that's a great way of you, if you are an artist and you want to be able to get into the digital world of art, CAD is an excellent way to get involved. So now, not only is it art, but it's also technology. So this flyer, if you take, well, my phone, and if you put the camera of my phone over the logo of KWF, you get into a virtual environment. And you will actually see what?
A turtle and some.
So for the conservation part, there are 3 animals that are standing. There's a turtle, a snow leopard, and a rhino. And then for the KWF education program, you'll see like a microscope over there, and then there's a building for our partnerships, but then there's a drone that constantly flies around. So it's really cool. I have plenty of flyers over here. You will need an Android phone. The app is not on the iPhone. So if you guys have an Android phone, definitely see it. If you don't, we'll be doing demonstrations over here during break time or when we break out for groups as well. So you guys can go ahead and take a look at it. But that's a really cool way. So if you love art, that's a great way of integrating art with technology and being able to tell a story as well. And last but not least, now math is really, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
What is CAD?
Computer-aided design. So it's like, there are many different softwares, like she said, the one she uses is called Inventor. But Fusion 360 is one that we've used often for our drone projects, because we can design drones in it as well. And you could design a bridge in it. You could design anything you want and be able to see what it would look like. You could look at the material structure, and then you go back into the material sciences. So all of that relates back to science or technology and engineering. Math, finance is an important factor in whatever you do, whether it's a for-profit or a non-profit organization. I'm not saying that math is only finance, but because I already gave you an example of all the others, I figured I'd put the money part in there somewhere. So we have to fund our projects somehow, and that's why I think that financing background with my prior career was helpful, because I was able to take that business mentality and apply it to the foundation. So instead of just depending on donations, we generate our own revenue within the foundation through workshops and through Cashmere Rose, which is our art history division, but we sell products that are handmade, eco-friendly on our website. And all of that funding comes in, and it's either sent to Cashmere Academy or Cashmere Robotics, where the development happens. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but here was my easy way, I think, of visualizing my passion, which is not STEM, animals, but how I have to use STEM to achieve my passion in being able to protect these different endangered species. So I'm going to show you guys a short 3-minute video of my first project, which literally takes all of this and puts it in a very 3-minute perspective of how much we achieved in like such a short time. So let me pull that up.
It's a war zone at this point. The value of a rhino horn is worth more than 10 times the value of the rhino online. Poachers are coming in, they're well armed. Most of them are coming in teams now, and they come in with assault rifles, and they don't have the law holding them back.
There's not a lot of technology solutions or barriers for the poachers. So our goal really is focusing on stopping it before it actually happens.
Check.
The Wildlife Conservation UAV challenge It's a challenge that is created to motivate and inspire people from around the world to create a unmanned aerial vehicle that would be used for counter-poaching purposes. It's 137 teams in 29 different countries on 6 continents saying, yes, we want to be a part of this initiative. We want to help find a solution.
The idea behind using a drone for counter-poaching is to get out there and try to detect the poachers before they get to the animals. With a UAV, you can actually cover a half a day's worth of walking within a matter of minutes.
It's not about making a great aircraft. It's about being able to process that data on board. And that's where the new sensors and the little tiny computers and the chips become exciting. If there are poachers in the park, how many? Where are they located? What types of weapons are they carrying? What's their proximity to the animals? And also, what's the best route for a ranger to go there and stop the poachers?
By being involved in this challenge, we're hoping to push this technology to the limit. 3D printing allows us to design platforms that are very quick and easy to produce. And the great thing about using a smartphone is that it has a number of built-in sensors already. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, has LTE communications, but the thing that we leverage the most is the camera and the processing power. Where we are now is we've developed a 3D printed plane, we've developed the apps that run on the phone, and we've got the sensors that we want to put on the system. All that remains at this point is to bring it all together, put it up in the air, and make sure that it does what we hope it does.
From the perspective of why we started the challenge, I'd like to see the rhino poaching numbers go down drastically. And then from the point of technology, we really hope that people are going to start seeing that a challenge can be a great way of motivating people. If we have technology, we can use it to protect the world we live in. Hey, that was actually 4 years ago, and that was my first project. I had no idea I would have so many people from around the world that are just eager and felt like superheroes being part of the challenge. So for me, it was the beginning of what I started and realizing how important STEM is as part of pursuing my goals, my passion and mission for the foundation. I actually base the foundation on those principles. So let's say Kashmir World Foundation is my passion now because everything I do is going back to helping protect endangered species. And then I have a passion for education. I love teaching and I love being part of seeing people learning and growing and creating their own creations. So art, as I said, I'm also an artist. I love painting, I love music, and being able to understand things visually as well. And then science and technology, I think, is critical for what we do because developing the drones and the artificial intelligence requires a lot of collaboration, a lot of skills going into a system, which then ultimately will be used by people around the world, and it will change the way conservation is done for a lot of different endangered species as well as counter-poaching work. So we have now under Kashmir World Foundation 3 divisions, the Kashmir Robotics, which is our science and technology division, Kashmir Academy, which is our education division, and then Kashmir Rose, which is our art history division. And then if you guys would like to join the pack, you sure can do that. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities as well as internships. We've had over 300 interns from all over the world. I think probably more than 130 countries. So it's a great way of networking and making friends with people across the world. A lot of our meetings are virtual and we work together thanks to technology, the internet that's made that possible, a lot of collaboration online. So if you guys are interested in becoming involved with what we do, go ahead and send an email and or visit our website for more information. I'll be happy to take some questions before I pass the mic over to Kashmir. No questions? Well, yes.
Yeah, going more into you building the drones, do you guys like 3D print your drones or do you just...
That's a great question. Do we 3D print our drones? No, not the entire drone is 3D printed, but if you actually look at this particular drone, all the parts that are electronic are not 3D printed, but the plates that the electronic parts are sitting in are 3D printed. The only thing that's not actually 3D printed on this is the frame, but everything else, for example, this white stuff over here is all 3D printed. So we were able to customize it and make our own housing for the different components that are in this drone.
What do you customize it for? Like,
So, for example, like when we just teach a basic course and you don't have the 3D printed components, plates here, then you would just kind of mount those onto the drone itself. And then, for example, if we change the flight controller we're using, like this one currently has one called the Pix Racer, but prior to this we used an older version, which is a APM planner, and the shape of it was totally different, size of it was totally different. So what we could do is we could swap out the plates and customize them for the new components that we update for electronics. Yes.
So I just wanted to ask a general question.
Sure.
I think, using the idea of technology and drones to help counter poaching is a really innovative idea. I was just curious, how did you come up with the idea to use drones in the first place? What was your thought process?
So actually, it started back in 2013. There was a lot of news about rhino poaching crisis, and I had started the Cashmere Rose division, and I was doing my research and study of where the products come from, and I learned about the snow leopards who are endangered, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to help protect them. And then I studied what the current methods are, which is just a camera trap in the field, and somebody goes there, and then you get those camera trap SD cards back, and I was like, there's got to be a better way to understand this better. And then I'm like, well, if you have a view from above, wouldn't that kind of make it easier? And that's kind of how I started thinking about drones. But I will tell you, it was really my husband, who has a background in aviation and drones, that had taken me to a lot of different meetings where I would learn about drones. Or my first drone that I ever actually saw was at a meeting in Florida. It was at an Air Force base, and it was interesting because there were, I think, like 7 different companies that were there to present their drones to the Air Force. And there was one group that just stood out for me. And it was crazy because they had this foam cardboard looking drone, which didn't look like much, but the passion and the drive that team had, the innovation, and the fact that they were able to crash and then put some duct tape over that foam and put that drone back up in the air. I was like, wow, that is so cool. And then you had this other company, like one of the big companies, and I don't know, something broke and they had to spend $160,000 that day to fly in a part. I'm like, what? And the drone cost $1 million? That's insane, right? It's like totally nuts to me. And then these guys from MIT were out there in the field. They were going at it with this foam board aircraft. They're just throwing it up in the air, and there it goes. And you've got this little controller that you move it around. They're like, you want to try it? And I'm like, sure. It was easy to fly. It was easy to fix. And it cost a lot less than these really super expensive drones that were around for a long time. So that's how I actually was exposed to drones. And then, since that was kind of like the back of my mind already, the idea of using drones in South Africa was a little bit easier than going to the Himalayas. So that's how I got started with drones. But it was watching a group of students that had just graduated, and they were working for Aurora Flight Sciences, and they were just at it. It was their idea, it was their drone. They were given the freedom to build it, and it was amazing.
about what the volunteers or interns do?
Sure. Yeah, so we have a lot of different types of internships. Like I said, we have 3 different divisions. For example, this summer when we were teaching in Mexico, I had 4 interns that went with us. It's kind of exciting. So 2 of them actually went for the workshop part. So they helped during building of the drone, programming, and then doing the test flights. And then 2 of them came to help collect data for the sea turtle project, because one of our projects is related to developing a drone that can fly up and down the beach, look for turtle tracks. But to be able to do the artificial intelligence for that, we need data. We need to be able to have lots and lots of tracks. So those 2 interns, they came and they flew their drone to be able to collect data for us, and then that data is being used now to be able to train the model so it can improve its ability to see a track and tell us, oh, there's a track.
Machine learning.
I'm sorry? Machine learning, deep learning, neural network. So you'll hear all those words, CNN, RNN. But yeah, so it's not just programming, because that's harder. You know, you have to, the old method would be you have a bunch of pictures and you have to label every single picture and then you put it through the system. But now with deep learning, machine learning, what you're able to do is have a handful of photos really and be able to put it through a training model, and then that model continuously goes through it, and every time it sees this, it's like, oh, okay, that's a track. That's not a track. That's a track. That's not a track. So it's automatically learning the difference between, just like babies would, right? You know, you teach little kids how to see an apple and know it's an apple every single time. Maybe they won't realize it the first or the second time, but over a period of time, if they see it enough times, they'll recognize the apple with the word apple. And that's how machine learning is also implementing algorithms. Yes?
How old do you have to be an intern, or are there any requirements?
That's a great question. How old? So Kashmir is our youngest. Not necessarily by choice, but I would say if I had a choice, I'd totally choose her. She is pretty awesome. She's helped at a lot of workshops, and she has helped save turtles and done a lot of stuff with us.
7 and below.
So 7 and below is probably not gonna work.
7 and above.
7 and above works fine. No, our youngest intern, probably high school, I think, because you have to have an understanding that you have to manage your time, right? You have an assignment. Even if you're not going into a physical place, you're still now required, if you've committed, to do your part of the assignment. So if you are in middle school or high school, I mean, I've had students even in middle school that have that have volunteered / not necessarily interned, but volunteered for our drone workshop. So for example, they've taken a drone workshop, and then after they've taken the drone workshop, they enjoyed it, so they want to come back and help other people learn, and then they're learning more because now they're teaching other people as well. You're in 9th grade, which would work. Other questions? Yes?
So you use these drones in a lot of different areas. How do you adapt to the challenges of the different areas?
That's an excellent question. So that goes back to the science. We have to understand, and one thing I learned, the best way to understand any environment is to find local people. So we have local partners. So for example, for our Mexico trip, our local partner, we usually have a university partner, and then we have a conservation partner. So our conservation partner was Pernatura, our university partner was the University of Marista and Merida. That's where they hosted the workshop, that's where we did the workshop. And then Pernatura, which is the conservation, they do sea turtle conservation. So then after the workshop, we went to the beach where they do nest monitoring, and that's where we trained them on the beach. And then for example in Brazil, we're going to be going there in February next year, and that's a totally different project. It's going to be related more to fire management, agriculture, and then we're working with them on developing a drone that can actually drop seeds from the drone to be able to plant in some of these open areas which they're trying to restore. So for part of that, you go back to science. You know, we're going to have to partner with a university that can do soil tests for us and give us a better understanding of what are we working on the ground, And then we're partnered with Earth Lab at the University of Colorado, and they're going to be working with us on the machine learning for identifying trees. So being able to develop a machine learning algorithm which can detect different fruit tree species. And then they're also working with us on developing 3D maps for the different regions. So then we can do better land management as well. So it's kind of cool. So all the projects are slightly different. I have an intern at Yale and Columbia, and luckily they're girls. And they're both going to be working on the Brazil project, so I'm pretty excited. And the professor I'm working with at Colorado is also, she's a graduate of Columbia, but it's another lady. And a lot of times I've had a hard time getting women or girls involved with the technology piece of the project, but that they are going to be doing both the machine learning and the 3D mapping with us. So it's kind of exciting to see that now we're getting that interest from girls as well. Last question? All right, well, I will hand it over to our next guest speaker, Kashmir Rose.
Sure.
Hi there, my name is Kashmir, and I'm excited to be here today. So I'm going to talk about this one time when I was passionate about a little turtle. So we were in Mexico last summer, and it was the first day we were releasing turtles.